Hello, everyone. Welcome to chapter 218 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekend edition. And as I hinted in the previous chapter, this is probably going to be about something to do with the lathe. So I'm going to show you a technique that I really like to use with my young students. And I think it's something everybody should be using with young students. So if you want to see what that is, all you need to do is stay tuned. Well, the technique I want to talk to you about a little bit today is the whole idea of texturing, or the way I usually describe it is chatter work. Now, why is this a good thing to do with young students? First of all, the students that I typically turn with are usually between the ages of about 11 and 15. Often it's their first exposure to wood turning, and they like to be amazed by the things that they can do. And I've sort of made it so that even these young students can do a bit of chatter work on their pieces. Like, for example, sometimes we turn a mallet like this. This is a mallet that we turned in class, and I like this for a beginner project because um, it has some roughing gouge work, which we do here. Could do this with the skew or at least smooth it out. We do beads on the handle. They do as many as they can do. And there's a little bit of chatter work on the end. And this one, we actually marbled. We dipped it till here. So it encompasses what? Three tools, four tools with the chatter. I mean, that's one surface decoration. This is another surface decoration. And it's a very, very universal project. Like, they can get a lot of experience out of a 2.5 by 2.5 by 8-inch piece of wood. So that's what I like about doing this little project. I think the next one we're going to start doing some coves in here as well. So then they'd have beads, coves, rough and gouge, maybe a bit of skew, chatter, marble, and away we go. So it's a really, really good project to do lots of things, and it keeps them occupied and keeps them excited for very little expense. Okay, so let's set this aside. Now, when I started today, I thought, okay, I'm just going to shoot a quick video on chatter. I've got a busy weekend coming up. Some things are coming up that I didn't expect to have happen, and thought, okay, we're going to do this quickly. And then we had a class here last weekend, and we did some chatter work. And Trent does things differently than I do, and then I thought, okay, well, there's got to be a maybe a more right way of doing this. And then I went on to the internet. I went on to YouTube and discovered that for chatter work, there are as many different ways to do it as there are presenters on YouTube. So I thought, rather than give you the whole history and show you all the different ways of doing chatter, there are some really good videos out there. I thought I would show you the tools that I made, and we do a little bit of work on my lathe here. I'm not going to chatter the whole video, but yeah, so you can kind of see what I do with my 11 to 15-year-old kids. Now, the whole idea of texturing, that is actually a very, very big topic for surface decoration. And like I said, I'm only going to scratch the surface of it today with what I'm going to do. But I'm going to show you the tools that I made and how I work with my young students. Okay, I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see what's going on, and then we're going to do a little bit of turning. Well, like I said, my tools are homemade. I have two tools that I made there. I'll explain the differences between the two here. first of all, they both start at the same place. This is an 18 by half, and the half refers to the half by half socket attachment that was the on the end of this. This is a 18-inch breaker bar, and Princess Auto was selling these really cheap. This is a few years ago. I don't know. I think I paid less than $10 for each of them, and I had this in mind when I bought them, so I just cut the socket end off. And on this one I found worked better on the maple that I had in the lathe earlier. Um, what I did, all I did, and this one's easily repeatable. So I took and cut the socket drive off, and then I cut with a zip disc, I cut a slot in here about an inch long. I don't know if you can see that. And then I just put two 1/8 inch set screws in. Tap and die sets, pretty important. You should probably buy one. Uh, they're usually under $100. I think for my Mastercraft, which is a Canadian Tire brand, which is pretty good. I think I paid like $70 on sale. This is a few years ago, but it's a worthwhile investment. So that's what I did with this tool. Oh, by the way, the chatter tool itself is a Makita jigsaw blade. Now, Makita jigsaw blades are different than other jigsaw blades. The Makita jigsaw that I had the olden days one, doesn't have the bayonet um, way to attach it into the saw. It uses a screw and a pin. So these blades, they're quite heavy, and I might just go to a lighter blade. That would change your texture or your chatter. The other one that I made, I experimented with a little bit of a different design. And initially, I thought this is another one of those tools that I welded to make a woodworking tool. And yes, I did. But I don't know if you can see that, but the angle, the blade doesn't touch the angle all the way along. So really, there's about 2 inches here that's kind of unsupported. And this point also that I sharpened this to worked better on the birch, on the slower, pardon me, the softer wood than the other one did. So you kind of have two different tools here and they work two different ways. Now, to get around this welding here, I wonder if it would work just to put a hose clamp. Maybe two hose clamps on here might do the same thing. I should give that a try. But anyway, that is basically the two tools that I made. So, and there are all kinds of things that you can do, like the ones that you buy from the tool retailers. They're usually shorter. Like this tool doesn't need to be long, but I find that I like to grip it kind of like this. So I like this handle here. Now, if it was just a knurled end, like a lot of socket sets are, that would be great too. This rubber, well, it kind of works. And you can tell this is a cheap set because of that. But the other one, yeah, this is the one I was using for the that I will use later on in the demo, and it works pretty good. So yeah, something you can make, not terribly expensive. I I don't know what I would have paid to have this, but one thing I might do yet is like these Makita blades are pretty stiff. I might experiment with. I have a bag or a little set of cheap generic jigsaw blades that I might just put in here instead. But I've seen people do this with a reciprocating saw blade, broken bandsaw blades, you name it, anything that's got a little bit of flex. And I've seen some people with reciprocating saw blades that don't even put a handle on it. They just grab it and go. And that I would definitely, well, first of all, I wouldn't even do that on my own, but I would definitely not do that with kids because that's not a good way for them to learn. So this is something that you can easily make and it's not terribly expensive. So, well, instead of talking about it, I should show you how it works. Zero. All right. Well, you can tell I've been playing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, I'm using a spindle gouge, but whatever cuts, bowl gouge would work good too. I'm just going to resurface this and get a clean playing field. And we're starting without rubbing the bevel, so we're just going to get it in, and then we're going to go for it. Might have the tool rest just a touch high. Okay, so that's smooth. Okay, when I chatter, the way I like to do it is I like to have, I would say the tool rest, I don't know if you could see it in the camera here, I would say about 5 to 6 inches away. That tends to be what I do. Now, one of the videos I watched, they mentioned going this way, and then they had 4 or 5 different end shapes. They had a round one like this, they had a point, they had a couple of U grooves, and some other tools, or one other one I forget. But that isn't the way I learned to do this. So, uh, and the other thing they did is they went this way. And I tried that on my own here, but I would never do that with kids because if you get underneath center, then it'll whip around and it's kind of disconcerting. Whereas this way, it works fairly well. So I put a fresh burr on here. I went to my 180 grit CBN wheel and held the tool upside down so the burr would come on the downside. And then I walked over to my little general lathe, and on that lathe bed, I have that Lee Valley burnishing tool for scrapers. It's mounted to the stand of my lathe. So I've got what I would consider quite a nice burr on here now. So let's see what this does. Now, the other thing that's really, really important when you do this is speed. And I'm showing you what I do with my students. So with my students, we'd be turning the third speed on those Delta and Jet pulleys, and that's, I believe, 1200 RPM. So we're turning at just a smidge over 1200 RPM. So let's see what this does. If I can get this to screech really loud, that's exactly what you want. So let's give it a try. Ooh, that's a nice fine chatter. I like that. Okay, the other thing that students really, really appreciate, my young ones love the marker on the lathe. So what we'll do is we'll turn little tops and then we'll chatter the bottom and they can decorate the handle with different colored markers and they love doing it. So it's surface decoration. It's completely up to them what colors they choose, what kind of chatter mark they got, and they like that because they like creating individualized pieces. Their piece does not look like their neighbors, and that's what they like. I'm just going to throw a little bit of black on the edge here so that you guys can see what the chatter looks like. I like that pattern. That looks really quite good. Now, you wouldn't have to just chatter from the center out like I did and call it a day. You could put little grooves in here and chatter in between and put different colors on. And there's all kinds of things you can do. In fact, sometimes when my kids are doing this, they won't get a very good chatter on the first attempt. So rather than face the old one off, we just do it again and that actually works fairly well. So, well, you know what? Let's play a little bit. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the the way it flaked out at the end here when I came out of the piece. I'm just going to gently turn that out. There we go. That's enough of that. Make the edge. Oh, it could go more yet. Didn't get it all. That might do it. Ah, good enough for this instruction. Of course, now that I said that, now I have to shake it off a little further. There we go. There, I can live with that. That's nice and clean. Okay, now I like playing with this point tool from time to time, and I'm going to use it here to just go in and right where that color left off, just going to make a border, and I'm going to make another one there. There we go. Now, I think I'm going to try to chatter that again. I'm not going to take the old off. I'm just going to go, oops, yeah, that's way too close. Let's move that. Can you see that? Oh, yes, you can. Okay. So I'm going to lock it there, and I'm just going to chatter in this area here. We're going to do it again. Remember, I'm at about 1200 RPM. Now that's shaft speed. It's not surface feet per minute. Okay, let's see what that did. That sounded really good. I can't see it very well. Oh yeah, I can see it. That is nice. And we are just going to put some nice orange on there. I think that looks pretty cool. And that's what gets the kids. They like this part. Okay, now I think I'm going to also redo this one here, just see what happens. Now this doesn't texture or chatter as good as the outer edges because the speed in the center is slower. And that really does make a difference. So let's see what I can do. Tell you that burr on here really helps. That I can feel. Well, the only other color I brought here is blue, and I don't know how that matches, but it's going to be what we do. That's too dark. But anyway, so you can kind of see what's going on here, those nice delicate lines. And the thing that I like about doing this with students is it's like marbling. It's almost mystical. Like how could that happen? And then they'll show it to their parents who usually don't have any experience with turning, and they'll just be in awe. Like, how did you do that? And I always just joke with the kids and say, just start your explanation to your parents. Well, we had this really tiny brush, and away we went. So anyway, that's what I do with my students when we're chatter tool doing chatter tool work. Now texturing is a whole other field. It's huge. You can get wheels that you can texture almost like almost like the knurling tools on a metal lathe. You can make that kind of design. There are other wheels that they'll have a handle and they'll have a patterned wheel on the end that you can do things with. This is the cheapest and I would almost say one of the most fun ways to go about doing this. So, well, now that I showed you this, let's go back to full view and we'll close this video off. Well, there it is. I don't know if you can see that. It looks pretty cool. I think if I were going to do this, I would put a different color in the lines. But this wasn't necessarily to do a piece for you today. It was just to show you a technique and something that I've done with students for a long time. It's so easy for them to do. It may take one or two times going through it to get it to chatter decently. And sometimes when I was really busy in a class with 20, 22 kids, 25 kids, I may not get the tool sharpened like it should have been right away. And yeah, that's not as good, but they got the general idea, and that's so important. So, yeah, and as far as making the tools go, uh, these bars, I think probably 3/8 would work, but half inch is just a little nicer, like these thicker ones. And the two types, well, you can do whatever you want. One of the things I should add, like these are Makita jigsaw blades, and we had a Makita jigsaw in school, and they take their own blades because they don't use the bayonet system to put the blade in the saw. For example, my Bosch uses complete blades with completely different ways to click them into the saw. So I think what I probably should have done for today, especially in this one, is taken some of the lighter gauge jigsaw blades that I have here and ground one of those right and put that in. But all things considered, with minimal preparation, it all worked, and that's kind of cool. So this is something you can build on your own, and it's not that hard to do, and you can go ahead and do things like this. Yes, I think Sorby sells one as well. It's I believe it's fairly short, which is fine, but yeah, these can be you can make these. This one, like I said in the video, you wouldn't even have to weld this on. You could put a hose clamp on there. I bet it would hold it good enough, maybe two, that would hold it just fine. So anyway, there you go. A couple of ideas. The rubber handle isn't necessary. Just the knurled handle would be fine. In fact, I think I'd prefer it, but this works just fine. So with that in mind, uh, that kind of closes this video off, the weekend edition. It's Thursday evening, and I'm shooting this. I have a busy weekend coming up, and we're in Saskatoon tomorrow. But had a bit of bad news today, which I was expecting, but it's still disappointing when you get it. It'll make things make this shop more expensive to run. Um, the town basically reneged on a deal we had for utilities. So I'm not going to get into it any more than that, but if you're building a shop, you have a shop and you're using it, make sure you're aware of everything. Had I known that this deal would only last 2 years, I would have never hooked up to anything. But now I'm in, and we'll have to see what happens. But anyway, don't want to spoil the tone of this video. This is a lot of fun to do. Do it with your kids. Have an awesome weekend, and we will see you on the weekly edition next week.